Okay, today we have a 2013 GMC Terrain 4-cylinder. I'm sorry for the wind. It's very windy down here. Right over here, Lamar, Texas. Galveston's only about 10 minutes away, and we have the biker rally going on today. So if you hear all the bikers going down Highway 45, that's going this way. But anyways, 2013 GMC Terrain 4-cylinder. Making this video because there wasn't a whole lot of videos when I researched the sensors I had to replace. Some were helpful, some were not. So I'm hoping to make this a little bit more clear. So if you need to replace your fuel rail sensor, this is your fuel rail. All right here. Your fuel rail, which is located under your intake manifold, air intake manifold. So obviously you have to remove it to get to it. So, and the sensor is actually located, let's see, sorry, right here, right where my thumb's at. So I'm about quite in the middle of the block. Let me see if I can move the phone down there and you can actually see it. So right where my thumb's on is the fuel rail sensor, high pressure fuel rail sensor. This is it. And if that wasn't a good view for you, or if it was too dark, I couldn't see, you should be able to find it with your hands. Requires a 17 millimeter wrench to take it off, to back it out, and you gotta unhook the sensor to it. So that's your fuel rail sensor. Another sensor I had to replace, and if you have to do the same thing, is the crankshaft position sensor. Not cam, it is crankshaft position sensor, which is located right here. Bolt right there where my finger's pointing at. Right here. That is your crankshaft position sensor, which is on top of the starter. This is the starter. So instead of removing the starter, if it's easier, which it's easier for me, is just to remove the air intake manifold. That's why I'm able to do this right now and show y'all. So that, not this right here, but this back here is your crankshaft position sensor. Crank. All right, and I believe the bolt to take that off, you have to use an 8 millimeter socket to remove the bolt, and once you remove it, the sensor should just back out. Maybe you may have to wiggle it out or something, but it should just back out. Shouldn't be hard at all. So and I guess if you have to remove your starter to replace it, there's a sensor below it, and then there's a sensor on top, right, and then I believe it's right underneath the crankshaft position sensor. So I believe that's it right there. That bolt you're seeing, wait, no, that's not it. That's it right there, yeah. Underneath the sensor. That's the other bolt that holds the starter in. So, and to remove this air intake manifold, I had to take off the radiator hose that goes right here. I have it wedged up right here. Take off, I believe this is a vacuum hose that hooks up to the air box. The air box which connects to this, and I just pull it out of the air box. Had to remove this hose right here. This hose. This is a high pressure fuel hose. High pressure fuel hose. So you need the special tool for it. It's like $8 at the most, and this connects to this right here. I believe this is your high pressure fuel pump. High pressure fuel pump that goes right here. So, and to the bolts and the nuts that hold this down, the intake down, you have these two studs right here and right here. Those are they're not bolts, they're nuts that hold it down. They're also 13 millimeter, just like the bolts that hold it down. So there's a bolt that goes right here, a bolt that goes here, bolt here, bolt here, and a bolt here. This bolt right here is different. I'll show you why if I can find it. Okay, this is the bolt that I'm talking about. Notice how it's double threaded in each threads on the each side are different sizes. So once you put the intake manifold down, or to take it off, this bracket that goes over your high pressure fuel pump right here, this bracket right here, this whole thing, see it moving? There's a hole, and that hole, once you have this down, slides onto this part, and there's a 10 millimeter nut that tightens this bracket down to this. So when you take it off, you're going to need a 10 millimeter. Remove the nut from this side, slide this bracket off, which is the hose right here, not hose but hole. You can see it right here. You'll slide it off the front part right here where my finger's at, and then you'll come in with the 10 millimeter socket, not 10 millimeter, 13 millimeter, and take this off right here, and you should be able to pull this intake manifold off. So again, to summarize it, if you need to get to your fuel rail for any reason, this is your fuel rail. This sensor is located somewhere underneath here. If you just get the part, look at it, get a feel for it. Like again, if you couldn't see in the video, you can feel with it with your fingertips. It's right here, right in between these two bolts somewhere, right here. Okay, so that's your fuel rail sensor. Your crank shaft position sensors down there, like I showed, where the red's at, and the red and black sensor is at down there. And what else? I believe that's it. And then if you need to take your starter off, you can get to that the starter bolt easier, instead of if you're down from underneath it trying to give it the reach around to get to that bolt. Just take the intake manifold off if you want to. I find it easy for me. I'm a big guy. I can't quite fit underneath the ground in the vehicle itself. I don't have any car jacks or car ramps, so I improvised, and this is what I found out after working on it. So, and I will make another video showing you the solenoids, which is a constant sensor that goes out on these, and I'll show you where the camshaft position sensor